So while I was reflecting on all the study tips and the study mistakes that I've made this year regarding my note taking and my study system, I thought, why not make a video consolidating all the life lessons that I've learned from my first year at university. I was fortunate enough to meet some really interesting people this year. I was fortunate that I had really lovely classmates, and also because I met a lot of interesting people outside of my course. As you interact more, you gain more perspectives, and you start to see how different people look at life. And me being the youngest among my friends, I clearly had a lot to learn, which is why I'm making this video. So, hopping into lesson number 1, spend your energy wisely. Why do I say this? It turns out that university is a lot busier than I had in mind, obviously. But studying isn't the only thing that demands your time. Earlier, I talked about friendships. I feel like in order to have lasting and fulfilling friendships, you need to put in the effort to spend more time with your friends. This year, I've made the conscious effort to prioritize friendships more than I ever have. That being said, you have to keep in mind that not everyone is going to treat you the same way. Not everyone is going to reciprocate your time and your efforts the same way. Not everyone is going to perceive you the same way. And some may even take your efforts for granted. Also, keep in mind that you have to maintain relationships outside of school, and they say that you can only maintain 150 meaningful relationships at a time, which is why it's all the more important that you choose your company wisely. Also, this doesn't just apply to people. Today, there are so many things that are demanding your time, whether that's catching up on lectures, hanging out with friends, whether that's work commitments, or it is a skill you're trying to learn, or a book you're trying to read, or a sport that you're trying to get better at. There is so much to do with your time, so distribute it wisely. That brings me to lesson number 2. University is not all about studying. I was fortunate that before I even started lessons this year, or before I even started university, I had the chance to talk to some seniors, and one of the most common advice I got was that don't make studying your life. And I'm glad I followed it, because it made me more hungry for self-improvement. It made me look for challenges more and improve myself in many different ways, such as communication, leadership, my thinking, etc. I know plenty of people who would disagree with this point, and with all due respect, these guys are the top scorers in their class. But depending on what course you're in, grades don't matter as much as they did back in secondary school or primary school. They no longer determine the trajectory of your life. Your life no longer hinges on those numbers. The way I see it is that all of us are unique with our own unique talents, but the way we've been brought up in our education system is we all strive for the same goal of doing well on standardized examinations. University is different. University is your chance of breaking free from all of that. The fact that you picked a course that aligns with your interests and aligns with your talents is kind of already a testament of that. When you present your resume, who would potentially be a more attractive candidate? A person with the perfect GPA but barely any other skills, or a person who maintains a decent GPA but has a wealth of skills outside of his studies? Fortunately, in the early weeks of my university course, there was an emphasis on building soft skills and focusing on development outside of studying, which helped me tune my mindset accordingly. I've not seen a single person in university who's a top scorer but isn't completely burnt out or fed up with their life. Think about it. You haven't even started working yet. Do you really want to be burnt out this early into your career? So even from a mental health perspective, don't limit yourself to studying. This might sound a bit contradictory, but studying doesn't have to be boring. It doesn't have to be tough, and it doesn't have to feel like a chore. So if you do want to look for ways to make your studying more efficient, I recently made a video on lessons I learned about note-taking and studying from my past year at university, which if you want to check out, link will be in the description below. Lesson number 2 is that you can't satisfy everyone. So like I said earlier, I've met a lot of different people in university. I've seen a lot of different personalities, a lot of different perspectives, work ethics, and philosophies. Some are always going to be more competent, some may appear more arrogant, some may appear rude, some may appear lazy. Point is, with so many different personalities, not everyone is going to like everyone. There's going to be a clash of perspectives, there's going to be misunderstandings and arguments, and sometimes there just isn't a right or wrong. Just the fact that there are different ways of doing things is enough to cause an argument. So it's important to keep an open mind. You can't be right all the time. You can't expect things to always go your way. Before I came to university, I imagined my university life to be perfect. But in reality, perfect really exists. Sometimes you have to take what you have and make the most out of it. Don't take it too hard if there are disagreements. I used to get pretty unsettled and tried my best to avoid arguments, but army taught me that it's natural. Arguments and different perspectives will always crop up. It's part of being human. Call it the gift of being human. The third and final biggest lesson that I took away from this year is building effective work relationships. One thing that I see happening a lot around me is gossiping. Impressions being thrown around, and I might offend some people when I say this, I'm sorry, but I just never enjoyed gossiping. It feels like taking a small mistake or small instance from someone's life and magnifying it tenfold or hundredfolds and using it as a form of entertainment to amuse yourself. And sometimes you also start associating these mistakes with their personality, which may not be entirely accurate. I may be wrong in my definition of gossips, but this is what I've seen happening around me. Look, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone has moments when they look like a fool. Nobody's perfect. But taking those mistakes and turning them into a form of entertainment just doesn't feel right. It spreads negativity and it spreads fake news. There have been instances when I've heard bad things about someone or bad impressions of someone, but when it actually came to working with them, it turns out that they're completely fine. In fact, there have been instances when they're pleasant to work with. And that's when I learned that it doesn't matter what other people think. The only thing that matters is what you think. And again, it could be a case of different personalities clashing, like I mentioned earlier. The mindset that I consciously try to operate with is trying to see the good in people. That everyone has something good to offer, or there's something that you can learn from everyone. I feel like this has helped me build quite a few effective relationships or good work relationships with my peers. Alright, that's all for this video. I know this is a much shorter one compared to my previous video, but these are just my reflections based on what's been happening around me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.